The problem with a bad law, and there have been a few bad laws in the last 20 years, starting with the fox hunting one, it doesn't matter what one's moral position may be. If it's almost impossible to implement in a court of law, it's a bad law. So the fox hunting issue, unless you are literally riding with the hounds, in other words, you are guilty of the offence of chasing a fox, then you have no proof that the fox was the thing in your sights. The fox might inadvertently have been caught by hounds, but you can't prove it unless you were there. And it's almost impossible to be there and to be aware of what was going on unless you were within the hunt, in which case unless you were culpable. Hence, bad law. There have been many other bad laws, but one of the worst seems to be the Rwanda Law. Now, why? If at this present moment it's being challenged by what the conservative wags are calling lefty lawyers, actually any lawyer, as we saw the other day, or we may not have seen, but some people may have seen on GB News, they wheeled out a lawyer who was clearly a conservative, who said that he was uncomfortable with the Rwandan law, that he thought that Rishi would win eventually, but that he was brave to take this on, and that many people in the bar, like him, felt uncomfortable with the law. Well, that's putting it mildly. The point is the Rwanda law, cannot work because there are so many problems with it, not least problems with Rwanda as a safe country. The Rwandan government has been supporting mercenary activity in the Democratic Republic of Congo, killing people, displacing people, raping people, not only with M23, but also with their own army. The government of Rwanda has been active in political assassinations, political kidnappings, and putting opposition activists in prison. Not to mention the 13 refugees who were under its care, who were shot in 2018, and no proper investigation, no proper report has yet been filed. Now, I don't see that those four things suggest to me that Rwanda is a safe country. Now, the government's plan, I'm sure, Suella Braverman's plan as she rubs her hands with glee and falls into a deep dream of pleasure, Suella Braverman's plan, I think, is to deport people so that reversing that becomes very difficult. I mean, where would you return them to? You can't return them to Britain because they never officially were accepted in Britain. So where do you return them to? So from that point of view, people sent to Rwanda would then be in a legal limbo. And Suella Braverman would, I suppose, have won some sort of victory. So her plan is simply to get those planes to take off. What happens next is for a subsequent government and a subsequent group of people to deal with. She will forever be able to say she got the Rwanda flights off the ground. Of course, it's deeply morally suspect. I think not only is Rwanda unsafe, demonstrably unsafe, but I think the bigger question is about whether or not we can outsource our moral responsibility under Article 51, under the Refugee Convention, 1951 Refugee Convention. I don't think we can. That's a bigger question, and that's the one that needs to be asked, and that's one that should be addressed by the legal groups and by the appeal court. It's being ducked at the moment. In the end, it will have to be addressed. So there's those two issues. And then there's the issue about really whether or not the people support this border obsession. We don't have a huge influx of refugees. France and Germany have it worse. But the fact that so many countries across Northern Europe are experiencing this refugee problem means that the time is ripe for a global conference. And if Rishi Sunak doesn't want to assemble one, I'm sure Keir Starmer has it in mind to do, to host a global conference and to sort out a position for the current century, in much the same way as we had one for the last century. The 1951 Refugee Convention doesn't deal with the pressures that we are facing today. We need to redefine what a migrant is, what a refugee is, and what are those rights, what are those opportunities, and what are our responsibilities. And we cannot do this unilaterally. If Rishi Sunak wants to make a mark and wants to deal with this, then he should be doing that. He should also be staffing the Home Office so they can process that backlog. And those two factors alone would be enough for him to hold his head up and possibly avoid a rout in the general election. But his obsession with supporting Suella Braverman and her madness, in the same way as supporting Liz Truss and her madness, all of this is just hand flapping, and it needs to go. It needs to be dumped. The hand activity, there's nothing productive, there's nothing positive about this. This is not imagination, this is fantasy. It's self-indulgent fantasy.